Hey everyone, this is Ole Sharanki from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
We were just using creative means, podcasts, ebooks, app, all kind of digital resources. We're just basically trying to prepare and engage students for lifelong learning. And so one of those things is the power and use of storytelling. And so what we want to do, again, we're very, very grateful for the partnership with said institute, is basically invite those of us who made an impact and are making an impact in the community to be able to come out and tell their stories. You know, so often we think about education as like, hey, go to school, get your degree, and then all of life's gonna work out. And so we know that's not true. And so one of the ideas that myself and Ole had was just, what if we could get people to come tell their stories, their journeys through education, and how education impacted them, but how they're also making an impact through their education. And so these are things that sometimes they're just not heard in our communities, because you're the first person to go to college, you're the first person to get the corporate job, or you're the first, when you're the first to do something, everything is new, and there's other communities, other people that's been doing it for a long time. And one of the things that we feel is that if people can hear the story of others, maybe it'll make their journey a little shorter, a little easier, a little bit more direct. And so, again, we thank you for being here. We got refreshments over there. We also have a bathroom around back and to the left. We kind of ask that you go ahead, if you need to use the restroom now, please feel free to do so. Or if you want to get a snack now, feel free to do so. It just helps us out with, he's like, yeah, I feel you. That's why my son stayed home. So anyway, but no, you guys can feel free to relax. We don't want it to be a stuffy environment. The AC should be chilling more and more. Get started. So we're going to get started in about 2 more minutes. If that's okay with everybody, we just want to make sure everybody's comfortable and then go from there, okay? So let me double check the AC real quick and then we'll come back.
That's good.
You're good? Okay. Is everybody cool? Okay, good. Okay. And then,
all right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for I was trying to figure out how many we had.
Oh.
And I was writing them down and I was like, we do it every month.
Yeah.
So this is September. So this is our 9th one, essentially. So this is our 9th one. We just started doing this. Super, super excited and happy to have just wonderful people coming out to the West Side talking about the amazing things that they do and their journey to success and how we can leverage technology and education to help people, like Vesta said, find their purpose, find their goal a little bit sooner. So really honored for today's guest. I'm just going to read a little bit about Isaac Eguia is a community relations and social impact strategist currently serving as Chief of Staff for the City of Houston in Councilwoman Tiffany Thomas's office, District F. He has a strong background in community engagement and advocacy, having worked with organizations such as the Youth Justice Community Investment Fund and the Independent Police Oversight Board. As a dedicated advocate for social justice and community development, today he will share insights on community engagement, social justice, and his vision for a more equitable future. A couple things that I found out when I was coming up with our questions and everything for Mr. Eguia. We both had the wonderful honor of being at CCU, or Complete Communities University, which is something that's done by the City of Houston, something that I found to be very, very impactful, very eye-opening to just understand how the city works and all the different departments and services that the City of Houston offers. And also, we're both former LYS ISD employees. There's a lot of LYS ISD connections here, but he was formerly employed with them, did wonderful work with them as a social worker and as a family and community liaison. So if you all could help me in joining and welcoming Mr. Isaac Eguia.
all right. Thank you for coming on board and agreeing to share your journey with us.
No, thank y'all for the opportunity, and first off, for the wonderful introduction. Sometimes it's always good to reflect back on your journey when somebody else is talking about it. But I think these conversations are definitely important and are necessary to make sure that we keep that momentum going. The change that we've seen, especially with technology, and using that to better impact the next leaders of our era.
Yeah, definitely. So can you take us back? A lot of times they'll see somebody hold a political office or a corporate office, or they're an entrepreneur, and we see the glitz and the glam, of that role. You know what I mean? See them on TV, see them, they come in at every event. It's like all access pass. Can you take us back to where it all started? Tell us how you grew up, where you grew up.
Sure.
What was your education journey like? Elementary, middle school, high school. Were you a good student? Were you not a good student? Were you in trouble?
Yeah. All of the above. All of the above. And I can tell you this, that when you speak of these things and you speak about seeing a person in these kind of positions, when I hear that, I'm still surprised myself because of the journey. And let me tell you where that journey began. So I grew up on the east side of town in this neighborhood called Cloverleaf, which is close to the Chattanooga area in Galena Park ISD. I graduated in 2001 from North Shore High School. And around the same time, my parents got divorced. So that was something of a new situation to me because I never thought. I had friends around me who were in that situation in a single family household. And I saw the struggles that they had and the lack of individuals and adults, positive adults, that they didn't have in their life and how it affected them. I was blessed to have some good uncles around me that were educated, but it doesn't always deter you from making bad choices, you know what I'm saying? So I went to Cloverleaf Elementary. I think I was a pretty good student. I was a little bit of a goofball, so I was around my friends. I was making them laugh all the time, so that maybe got me in trouble. Went through middle school pretty fine. High school did great, but there's also the time when my father was no longer in the picture. So with that disconnect and without that lack of authority, we give ourselves more freedom, especially when mom's working extra hard to make sure the boys are good. I was slipping out the window every night and go meet up with my homeboys and everything. So I was still having my successes in school while still trying to have my fun with my friends, I never got myself in too big of a trouble. And honestly, I think I've been blessed only because my older brother was involved in gangs. He's actually serving a life sentence right now. He's 20 years in a life sentence, and he has 20 more to go. So he'll be out and he has 2 children of himself that, God bless it, they're in college themselves and are getting themselves educated and they have plans for themselves. And they learn from their father's situation. Unfortunately, the relationship of being a father is not as strong as it could be, right? But I use that as a story to reflect back to a lot of the youth that we talk about, that we talk with, because we all have these similar journeys, right? So when all that happened with my brother, we were kind of connected to the streets. I was around 20, and because of the nature of the event, we really had to get out of it. It became dangerous. I remember the lawyer even saying, "Hey, Isaac, it was too hot, man. Maybe you should leave town for a little bit to let things cool down." And I did. And I came back. And when I came back, I was living at my grandmother. They moved me to my grandmother's house in A-Leaf. So I've been in A-Leaf the past 21 years, and it became a new home, a new community. With that being said, I still wasn't the Isaac that you see in front of you yet. There was still some work that needed to be done. When I graduated high school, following the models of my uncles around me who were accountants, I decided to go to U of H downtown and pursue my accounting degree. Applied for financial aid, got a full grant, paid for all my 4 classes, paid for all my books, gave me extra money to put some bread in my pocket, but I still wasn't ready. I just still wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. And I was still hanging out with my friends. I started working full time. I started putting a little money in my pocket. And little by little, I started reflecting the failures if you don't know how to balance that. And in college, it's a different beast than high school, right? So I think that's one thing that's important in the high school level is how much we prepare our youth for what college really is. So when I got to college, I wasn't keeping up with what I should have been. In about 2003, back then, I was in class and a staff member came up to class and pulled me out. And I said, we have to go have a talk. And I had already gotten an academic probation before that. So now here came the suspension.
Dang, out the class.
Out the classroom.
Dang.
Like out in high school or something, I don't think they do that anymore in college. I think they have a little bit more professionalism, but
gather your things.
Yeah. I was in class. They came to the door, Isaac, and brought me down to a little conference room, told me the situation. I said, well, because of your grades, can't have you. So my GPA went down to a 1.8 at the time, which is pretty low. So I was kicked out of school. I was working, and I thought, Isaac, just go to HCC and try to catch up. I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready yet. You got to have the right mindset and have that responsibility instilled in you. And if you don't, you're not setting yourself up for success. And I try to tell the youth that you have to be mentally ready to reach your goals and be focused on it. So 2003, 2004, out of school. So now I'm just working. I was working in the bar industry, believe it or not, for about 10 years. Operating bars. I helped open a few bars as well. But after 10 years of working in that industry, which is a very nightlife industry, I needed to change the environment.
Wow.
I was having too much fun, and too much of that could be unhealthy, right? So I decided to change my environment because I knew that I had so many distractions and so much influence. I said I need to get away. So I went down to South Texas by the border. My uncle had a company that manufactured oil drilling components. And I went down there and I said, hey, can you put me on, put me down lowest thing you could do. I just want an opportunity, man. I want to get away. So he said, yeah, sure. You can stay with me, drive my cars, whatever. Just help out around the office, do whatever you can. No problem. All I could pay you is about $400 a week. Whatever, uncle. I'm getting the experience, and that's really what I wanted. Yeah. I wanted my way into a new field and a new opportunity. In other words, a second chance, because we had to get away from, the streets and the influences. So I wanted that second chance. And while I was down there working oil and gas, I was in these small towns, and I had no friends. I had no people to connect with. And I remember being at Walmart and being on the phone with a friend talking about this other individual that I helped out. And the lady in front of me at the register turned around and said, Isaac, mister, you sound like you're a very positive individual and you can help out a lot. And she gave me a little brochure and said, I want to invite you to this meeting. And if you're interested, you can be a volunteer or help us out on our board. And it was a brochure for Big Brothers Big. So that sat on my desk for a couple of weeks before I realized, let me give them a call and see what this is about. I got the time. I like working in the community. Let me see what it's about. So I went to my first and immediately started coming up with ideas of what they were already working on. And then I became a mentor to one of the little brothers. So I worked with them for about 3 years on my off time. Down in South Texas, got some proclamations with them, did some fundraising work with them, and got a better feel of what it was to work with marginalized communities. And in South Texas, there's a lot of communities that are broken, like in many of the communities that reflect everybody here in this room. Broken communities, very impoverished communities lacking resources. And so once I started getting that perspective and that hands-on view of what these youth were going through, I knew that I had to do something more to make a difference. And what really pushed me one time was I was taking my little brother out to watch a movie and grab a burger. Something simple, right? Something simple that every day we can say it's a simple thing, if not a luxury. And as I was taking him home, he must have been 11, 12 years old. He turned around to me and said, Mr. Isaac, this has been the best night of my life. And I'm thinking this was just a movie and a burger, man. Yeah. But for many youth, they've never even got, so the smallest things that we're able to enjoy now, many are never going to have that chance. So while I was working down there for about 3 years, I decided, you know what, I want to be in community and youth in some capacity, but I want to go back home.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because you know it's some good topics.
So I went back to Houston and I decided that, well, if I want to work with community and youth, I think an education is going to be my best way in. And this is with no degree, no real background experience other than the big brothers, big sisters. So I applied to about 60 positions across LYS, HISD, Fort Bend ISD. I'm like, put me in a broom closet, pushing them out. I'll work my way up. I know I can hustle and they'll see me, right? But I wanted my foot in the door. I got 3 interviews out of those 6 applications. One turned me down. They said I was overqualified, only because on paper it looked like I was overqualified. Coming from oil and gas, and I come into interviews very strong. So it was for a teacher's aide. So I was like, all right, cool. So interview number 2 was HISD. They loved me, and they immediately offered me the position. This was going to be a teacher's aide as well, but I knew, hey, that's a start for me. That's where I need to begin. And then I got a call from LYS. He said, hey, we got a position for family liaison. Here's a job description. And I'm like, I don't think I don't have the background for this. I don't even know what this is. But I wasn't going to pass up that opportunity. So they gave me the interview. I interviewed pretty strongly. And I used a lot of my personal stories and backgrounds and the exposure I got from Big Brother Big Sister to really impress them. Out of that 80 applicants, immediately in the interview, they're like, Isaac, we've interviewed tons of people, and you're number 1 right now. And we want to put you at the school that needs the most help, and that's Best Elementary. And if you're not familiar with Best Elementary, it's over there off the Bissonnette track. So if you know the Bissonnette track, it's the high prostitution traffic area off the Bissonnette. And I was up for the challenge. I was like, hey man, give me 2 schools. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. And at this point, I didn't know what I was doing yet. I kind of talked myself into this position using the little knowledge I had of community to give the right answers and impress them enough that they say, hey, we want you on. So I said, yes. They're like, hey, you're only going to be making this much. And I'm like, it's more than I'm making now. So I think the salary was maybe $24,000, $25,000 to begin with. So it was still about $800 every 2 weeks. But for me, it was a blessing to get myself into the door of something that I knew was going to change my life. Once I got in, they gave me a community center. So it was about the size of this room as a classroom, and it was mine to run at the school. But my job primarily was to bring in parents and give them resources, teach them classes. I taught English, I taught GED, I taught computer classes, but I also brought in organizations that would provide free resources to the community, health clinics, any kind of other organizations that helped out a lot of the migrant communities or low-income communities that may need that kind of assistance. I would bring that in so they can present to the communities and find out what's close to them that can help them out. At that point, I met a social worker in LYS, and I was in between, do I want to be a teacher or do I want to be a social worker? The social worker and understood what she did working with the children one-on-one. I was like, that's what I want to do. So every day I reminded myself, what are the next steps for me to get back to school? And eventually I re-enrolled in HCC to bring my GPA back up because it wasn't ready for U of H. I got 2 A's, so I got it up to a 2. I applied to U of H downtown because that's where I started and I wanted to go back and finish. I took another 2 classes. I got another 2 A's. I got it up to a 2 point. So now I could apply for the College of Public Service, which is social work. Because of my work in LYS and my commitment to the families that I was serving, I started to connect social work and the work that I was doing, which was the same. And even what you're doing, a lot of the work that we're doing when helping individuals working communities and social work. So my education was hand in hand with the work that I was doing. So I was able to understand the theory and practice it at the same time. and it really helped me elevate how well I connected families to those resources. Understanding this is the community I'm working with, and these are the resources around you that you can connect with within your own community. And that's what social work, that's the social part of social work, is working within one system and connecting the rest of them together. So I was doing that, and the superintendent followed a lot of my work and was impressed with just the outcomes and the outpour, because I think I filled up my classroom every day, all day long, where I couldn't get rid of the parents.
Wow.
They were just like, "Can I stay for another class?" I'm like, "But do you know what the other class?" No, I just wanna stay here and learn something. So LYS really enjoyed what I did, and I loved what I was doing. I don't think anybody else was doing the stuff that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of reinvesting in myself. So as little as I was getting paid, I would buy groups of Rockets tickets that were on like Vivid seats for like $5 each. I would buy a whole bunch at different paychecks, but for the same date, and then I would take a whole group of family and kids for free. Because on the long run, it didn't cost me much, but I knew I could impact as many people as I could from their first game. You know what I'm saying? So I was doing stuff like that. Got into the college, social work. The school district really supported me. The superintendent provided me a letter of support. Took me 2 years to finalize that. That whole time from returning from that 14-year gap of education and having those life experiences in between, I came with a different mindset and mentality and more focused.
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole once again. You know, these days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
So from that 1.8 that I started with at 8 and went back to HCC, all the way through my graduation. So I graduated with a 3.97, summa cum laude at the top of my class.
Came a long way.
Came a long way.
1.8, right?
Came a long way, but with a different mindset, with purpose and intention, and with the intention and responsibility that the education that I was gaining was for the good of my community. And my community were my neighbors, were people that looked like me, the people that I connected with, people who had the same struggles and backgrounds that I knew that I wanted to make sure that they didn't go through the same paths that I did and took as long as I did to get to where I needed to be. And that was just my bachelor's degree. As soon as I graduated, the superintendent called me in himself from the school district and said, "Hey, Isaac, we're very impressed with the work you do." And I was thanking him for the letter. I had just got married, and right before I crossed the stage, this was December of 2020. So I hadn't even crossed the stage yet for my graduation, but I got an interview with Fort Bend ISD, and they hired me on the spot as a social worker for high schools to work with the youth. So I went back to the superintendent proud. I was like, "Man, he's gonna be happy to hear this. He helped me get this far. I'm at a professional level now." That's the next step, right? You graduate, you get a job, your salary goes up. So I went in there with the Chambers. "Thank you for everything. Guess what? I got a job in Fort Bend." He's like, "Oh, you don't." I'm like, "What do you mean? What call?" He's like, "You're not going anywhere. You live in Haiti." I'm like, "Yeah." So I want you to stay in Haiti. At that point, there wasn't no social work position, and he made the executive decision. And in 2 days, they had a contract in front of me. I helped him create the position. This great salary that was almost triple what I was making. It's life-changing. In a minute. And coming out with a BSW with a bachelor's, you don't normally already make that. You usually start making that when you get your master's. But I worked my butt off, and I did it with intention. And then anytime that I did the work or shared it on social media, I shared the work the families were doing, the progress that they were making, and not so much about my story, but the story of them.
Yeah.
So that was my goal, and I think that's what made an impact in my community, the schools, and of course the school district. Through working with the community and now being higher level of opportunities to have partnerships with the community and organizations, I met Councilmember Thomas. This was COVID already, you know. She was doing a lot of activations in the community. The community needed a lot of help doing distributions, and because of my work that I was actively doing, I was being more involved and more aware of HOA meetings, super neighborhood meetings, and I'm like, if I want to connect these families with what's going on in their community, let me come out there and go to these meetings for them because I know they can't.
Yeah.
And let me bring back as much information as I can so that they're aware. And of course, it always helps out because you hear about all these events, food drives, scholarship opportunities, job opportunities. So it was just making my job better by being out there and putting in that time. And while connecting with the council member, we did a lot of community work together. Fast forward to last year, April, she calls me. She calls me herself and says, "Hey, Isaac, I got a job for you. Director position." And I'm like, at that time I was interviewing with the Alliance, which is another nonprofit out in the Sharpstown area. And she's like, "Isaac, I don't care. I just need you. I need your resume. I need your application in the pipeline. Just make sure it's in there." I'm like, okay, I got you. I put it in. I'm not gonna say no to the council member. So I put it in. I did about 3 interviews with the Alliance, and they were kind of in between. So I didn't think they were gonna go with me. So I went to go do the interview with the council member at the neighborhood center. And we had about a 2-hour discussion, right? And at the end of those 2 hours, she turns to me and says, "This job's not for you." I'm like, "I want 2 hours out of my life," you know? And I'm like, I'm a strong interviewer. I can get this. But she turned to me with another document and she says, I got something better. I want you to read this job description. I'm going to leave the room and you just tell me, is this something you can do? I didn't even let her leave the room. I don't know what it is, but I don't know what it's going to entail, but I knew it was going to be a new challenge, a new environment, and I think I tend to thrive in those challenging environments. As my youth, and going to South Texas, you got to push yourself to do more. If you really want to get to where you want to be, you're going to do it. You got to stay focused. So I knew that this was going to be another opportunity for me to grow and learn. And again, just like when I went to A-Leaf, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But it was for a good cause. And I just got my master's in social work from U of H this past May. So working on the micro level of social work in the district gives me a better perspective of the needs on the macro level. So on the policy side. So by understanding what the needs are on the individuals and the communities, when I'm working up here with the council member and we're looking at broad policies that affect the entire, I have that input and that perspective of this is what I hear, this is what I know, this is what they're going through. How can we use these policies to make sure that we're covering those issues and those burdens?
Could you give us an example of that difference? Because I think sometimes, from, again, the micro side, it's like, I don't know what my council member's doing. I just see them on TV.
Yeah.
Could you give us?
Yeah. So on the micro side, in the council member's office constituency, looking at everyday phone calls. I got a water leak. I need my sidewalk fixed. There's a pothole in the road. That's micro level of work. On the macro level, it's affordable housing initiatives. Bringing in developers into the city to provide new homes, quality homes for low-income individuals, for first-time home buyers, and giving them those opportunities through programs to get down payment assistance. So that's the policies that bring in those programs so that we can change the individuals who are in poverty or maybe in a waiting list, a housing waiting list, to make sure we get them off that waiting list so they don't have to rely on that waiting list. Because many individuals, they want to be on that list. They want to get that housing voucher. But if we can provide sustainable jobs for economic stability and education and affordable homes, then we can change generations, right? That don't have to rely on housing, on government housing, and government assistance. That's the ultimate goal, because once you get there, sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that you said that's really is about environment, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oftentimes we see these, resources, they're very good, they're needed, but at the same time, they create certain environments because it's like, if everybody's a certain income here, if everybody's a certain mindset here, then there's certain outcomes that come from that versus like when, something as simple as going to college, which to me, it's simple to go, but we don't realize how much of an impact it has to be like, I went to Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian, and I remember walking out of this music theory class, and I didn't want to open my paper because I'm like, this whole thing was sucking, and I needed a good grade to keep my scholarship money. And, I hear a side conversation, like, what'd you get? And then he's like, man, it doesn't matter. My grandma's paying for my school anyway. And my dad owns the company. And so I'm just coming to school because they said, and I'm thinking, I just throw this whole thing away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, but the fact that you're in that environment and hear that conversation of like, well, what did your grandma do to set you up? That set your dad up? That's a different conversation that we sometimes, we don't hear. You know what I mean? And sometimes we feel far removed from it. You know what I mean? So I think that those voucher policies and things like that are key. But like you said, let's talk about the entrepreneurship side. Let's talk about the business side. Let's see how we could put you in a situation that this doesn't have to, you don't have to depend on these things.
Yeah. I think for a lot of times, many individuals are just unaware of what's out there. They may not have those individuals in their life that can help them out or have been through that system. Yeah. And that's many of us. Yeah. That's many of us. I was blessed that I'm first generation Mexican American, but my uncles, they were born in Mexico, but migrated to the U.S. They pursued their education. They went to U of H. And as a kid looking up to them, even though they all still lived in one house in Denver Harbor, I saw my uncles going to college and working in banks and driving nicer cars than we thought. And the first time on a cell phone, I'm like, man, that's. But we're looking as a kid, we're looking at the money, right? Yeah. So, and that's why I initially started my degree in accounting because there are accountants. I'm like, oh, that's I want to make some bread, But it's funny how it works out because I don't think I don't want to be stuck in an office punching numbers away. I think there's definitely to my personality. Yeah. So you really have to find yourself. But I think we have to do a better job of preparing our students. And by better, I think is having the conversations with the parents as well. Yeah. Right? Because for a lot of them, they don't have the exposure. They may not have the individuals who have that college experience that can talk with the youth and let them know, hey, these are the steps you have to take. Because my uncles were really around. And for my group of friends, I think 2 of us graduated high school. I think I'm the only one that went to college. And if you don't have those individuals in your home or around you or seek them, then many times that opportunity is going to go over you.
You brought up a really good point earlier about your environment. When your environment changed, things just started clicking. Yeah. And so for the average young person that's out there right now, you mentioned a lot about community. When you got into the environment of where you're doing something community-based, all these ideas started coming. If you could just how did you know that community was your thing? Because I think that's something that a lot of kids struggle with. Is like they don't understand that you're better at this than a lot of other people. But how did you know?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I can really pinpoint when I knew that community was for me. I think it was a series of events and also a series of failures of what's not for me and what I needed to stay away from. Yeah. I think once I knew, for some reason, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought that was, and you have experience. It's impactful, right? But when I got to Haley Fires D, every teacher I met was miserable. And I'm sorry to say, this was an NES school. This was a needs improvement school. The first day of school, when they're doing the team huddle in the library, and I'm coming in with optimism, Isaac, I'm going to change the world. I don't know what's going on. And every teacher's like, you ready for another year? I'm like, what is it? Yeah. It's elementary. I'm like, Yeah, who's this bubbly guy over here? But that's always been me, man. And when you come to communities, you have to come that way.
Yeah.
Or else you're not genuine.
Yeah.
They're not gonna buy you. And that's why I filled out my center every day.
Yeah.
Because I put out my heart out there and I show them that this is with intention and this is a genuine ask. Come to my community center and let me help you.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey, you have to come to class. So but again, I know the burdens of being a teacher in those kinds of schools. But I took that opportunity to meet with the superintendent that first day and say, hey, I'm new to A-Leaf. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I want to let you know that I'm gonna do some good work.
So, if you can, I want us to move forward a little bit. You're now working as a chief of staff with Councilwoman Tiffany Thomas. Was there ever, can you describe a moment or a series of events or something that happened while you were a chief of staff that kind of helped you, like, help you see, like, okay, this is what I'm really doing the thing my vision.
Yeah.
That I have.
You know, initially coming into to city council as chief, I came in during budget season, which is a very, very busy time at city council because you have 2 weeks of budget hearings from every department, which they're reporting their fiscal year and their fiscal projections. So I would be sitting in these meetings not knowing what they were talking about, just thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
And there's no training manual, there's no shadowing, there's no one-on-ones. It's the expectations that you're at this level, you have to figure this out and move forward as you go. So every acronym ever in the city, HPW, I was so thrown out. It was too hard for me to understand. So at first, initially, it was like, okay, just go, Isaac, and keep it going. You'll figure out what to do. And when the council member interviewed me, she said, Isaac, what do you want to focus on? But I'm like, this is your show, council member. So it's not about me. Let me know what you're doing first, and then we'll see what I can do. So I think a year later now, I've got it to where I know how to focus more on policy and initiatives in communities. But I think one thing that really turned and connected the social work part of my background to my role as in one of the communities that was going through some issues. And it wasn't just a call from her, it was a call from her HOA, it was a call from the Department of Neighborhoods that were reporting her home being unsightly, kept, and falling apart. And the Department of Neighborhoods was coming out and putting citations out. So I gave this lady a call and I asked her, hey, can I come by and just check up on you? And when I got to her home, it turned out she was a hoarder. And I mean bad. Yeah. Not just inside the home, but outside the home. Yeah. And the situation was so severe that for the past 3 years, she actually had been living outside underneath the tarp of her home. So that's 3 years since the winter storm.
Wow.
Since all these storms. And she showed me. You know, I went through maneuvered my way back to her backyard. And it wasn't a tent. It wasn't on post. It was literally a tarp on the ground. So I sat there and I listened to her story of how she kind of got caught in her situation. It's usually a series of events that affect you, and it kind of just snowballs from there. So I knew that I needed to use my training and use my position to get this person some help, because the HOA was ready to put a lien on her home. Once you start getting liens on your home, you start losing the right to own your home. The Department of Neighborhoods started to cite her. She's an individual on Social Security who can't afford to pay anything else other than her food. And of course, there's the mental health issues. So understanding that this individual is falling through the cracks, she's called every organization for help, and there's nothing there. So there's no funding here, there's no funding there. After many visits and understanding more and more, she couldn't even enter her home through the door. She had to go in through a window. It was that bad. Her ceilings were caved in because of the previous storms. Her roof, you can see daylight from inside her home. I haven't been inside, these were pictures that I've seen. But it made that connection of social worker and chief of staff. As I have this responsibility to understand this individual is suffering and the community is suffering. because they need that home to look like a home. And we wanted to make sure that community keeps their identity. So using the resources at the city, talking with the council member who's chair of affordable housing and an advocate for individuals, their properties, we're able to get her into a program that's actually going to tear down that home and rebuild her again.
Oh, wow.
At no cost to her.
Wow.
So there was no other choice. I mean, she was going to lose the home.
Wow.
If we didn't step in.
Yeah.
So I she calls me, she's crying every day and praying to me like, thank you for coming.
Wow.
But if nobody gave that time to listen, then she may have not received those resources and that help.
Yeah.
And nobody would have told council member that has an authority, because I still don't have that authority to make a call to the housing community development. Let me tell you what the situation is going on, and let's get her on this list. So we're currently working through that. We're not there yet. We're going to plan a community activation to clean up a little bit of the outside, and then they're going to do the demolition, put her in an extended stay, build her a brand new home, and give her keys to a new home. And now that community gets restored back to what it was. Instead of having a blighted home, well, now you got a home, you still have your residents, and now you're.
So I think that's just so powerful because, and you mentioned it earlier, we tend, your experience with the school district allowed you to see things from an individual, from the micro level. But now you being a chief of staff or the councilwoman, you can see how some of these things trickle down, so to speak, and affect.
And I think for many people, many executives, many directors, sometimes there's that disconnect where you don't have the opportunity to see that micro level. So I think it's definitely been a blessing to be able to do that kind of work down there, to know what we can do up here better, right?
So this brings up this question. So you've lived through hardship. Some brought on, obviously, that's outside of your control, totally outside of your control. But then there's things that are within your control. Yeah. And you're like, dang, that's dumb. And so.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. If there's one thing I love, it's something free. I'm talking free 99, un gratis. No shipping or handling fees, no gotcha fees, nothing like that. With that being said, if you're graduating soon or thinking about college or need a nudge or help to decide, then our free ebook, 10 Things to Think About Before Going to College, has a very balanced and open-minded way of presenting your next steps. It captures broad topics in a personal way by giving students an insightful, interactive, and reflective source of inspiration. It is very beneficial to be able to visualize some of the concepts after high school and apply them directly to you. We all know life, college, and career planning decision-making choices for students can be challenging, especially as they near the completion of high school. This book will provide you with a self-paced guide to your success beyond academics and into real life. Not only is it free, you can complete this book within a week. This will definitely prepare you for long-term success. To get your free copy, simply go to lys.com/students. I mentioned it was free, right? Well, if I didn't, it's free. Like, for real. Okay, back to the podcast.
Now, as you're helping other people, how does that lens play a role? Because sometimes it's especially now everything's so politicized, and it's like, okay, this is not the government's responsibility. This is, you see what I'm saying? And then knowing the difference of that was a bad mistake, and that gets you so much time. How did that play out?
Dumb is the word, because I was dumb. And as you heard before, when I got to high school and I failed my first 2 years and I was up to no good. Let me tell you this. So I told you my brother's in prison for life. I myself have been arrested 9 times. I have a record of being arrested. I have 9 mugshots out there somewhere. And I can tell you a story of the last time I was arrested. I was sitting on the floor in my mid-20s, and the officer, I think I was in Fort Bend, was booking me in, and he was about to take my fingerprints. He looks at me and says, "Hey, do you know how many mugshots you got in here?" And I said, "How many?" And he said, 7. And, your mind kicks into realization, as in knowing what I know and the opportunities that I have and can have. I was like, so that was a turning point in my life that I use when I speak to youth to let them know, hey, I've done some stupid stuff in my life. You know, I'm glad that there's nothing on my record that's deterred me from being where I'm at, because I passed Homeland FBI background checks. Yeah. How I did it, man. I did it. It made it, but the grace, but it was for a reason, I think, and it's for me to continue to work there, no doubt about it. So I use a lot of my personal story to really reflect back to our people, to let them know that, hey, it's okay to fail. Just get back up and keep on going and finish what you started. You got to go back. There's something that happens in your brain that when you don't complete something, you accept failure. And if you accept failure one time, you're going to accept it again. Yeah. So if you don't go back and finish what you started and accomplish that, to stay in your mind that it's something you can accept. So that's something I make sure I let the kids know that, hey, if you start something, or even you start college and hey, you think it's not for you, come back and finish it, man. Don't give up on it just yet. Or any idea. And once you do have your idea in mind of where you want to be, take progress every day, even if it's the smallest step of looking up what's my class list for this program. You know, what do I have to do? So I use my personal story, especially the stupid side, to let them know you can easily turn that around, because every day I surprise myself.
So one of the things we like to do here is, you know, as people share their story, it kind of, you know, we have a small audience where it starts to make them kind of think of things that they can do. You know, we got assistant principals here, we got educators here, we got community members here, and just different people here that are able to share or even just ask what's going on. So if we want to kind of turn to the audience and take any questions from them that they might have at this time. So does anybody have any questions, anything that kind of maybe stuck out in the story that kind of pinpointed something that, you know, you might have for your family or for a community that you want to ask? Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you, Isaac. I have a few questions, actually. But now that you are chief of staff in the city council, what are ways that you partner with A-Leaf, or how do you pay it forward with the youth now?
Oh, that's a great question. A-Leaf is my family down there. So I live in A-Leaf, so it's my community. Because of the previous work I've done with A-Leaf, I'm still connected with the family engagement department, family and community engagement, led by Chancellor Terry. She's my previous supervisor. She's like a mom to me.
Shout out Chancellor.
Yeah. So I saw her yesterday at the workshop. She was there. So I was under her leadership for quite some time, and that really got me involved with communities and kind of helped me elevate. And she gave me the job. So I mean, I pay my dues back to what they did for me. I connect with them as much as I can. Whether it's, hey, I just partnered with this organization that might be able to help out some of your youth. We just, this past weekend was Sheila Jackson Lee's blood drive memorial, and they needed a student for a scholarship. We picked an 85 SD student to receive one of those scholarships. If you're familiar with A-Leaf Votes, those group of kids, they're powered through our office, and they encourage and work with high school students, college students to promote civic engagement, and those guys are doing a great job. Those kids are doing a phenomenal job, and it's diverse. So it's connecting with their they have a homeless McKinney Vento program that they focus on families and children who are considered unhoused or homeless, and that could be living in hotels, extended stay hotels, living in their cars, the runaway students living with friends, couch surfing, families living together and providing them assistance. But anytime I see an opportunity to share those resources, I'll make sure I really make the connection to A-Leaf ISD wherever I can. So even working at schools this past summer, I went to go speak at some of the after-school programs. Anytime I get to speak to the kids and youth, because I worked elementary, middle school, and high school level. So I know each level is specific and unique at a different point in their life. But I really enjoyed the high school level the most. But what I love about now continuing my work, I run into some of those students that I knew from Best Elementary, and they'll come up to me and be like, I remember this. I was giving a talk at UH downtown to some HISD students, and a student ran up to me, and she was like, "Oh, Mr. Isaac, I'm from Best. I was in the after-school program, and oh man, I remember I scored a goal, and all the boys said you cheated, and you stood up for me." But that memory lasted, 10 years later, and then yesterday I saw a student at the workshop and she came up to me and like, my mom used to bring you enchiladas at best. Like, yes, I remember. I'm going to tell her next time she makes enchiladas, like, yes, call me up. I'll definitely come by. But again, it goes to show that youth need individuals and not just teachers, not just principals, not just counselors, but they need credible messengers. And they need credible messengers that have a story like theirs. And I think we all have a similar story, but we got to make sure we give them the message that they understand and comprehend, because we know what's out there right now. We know what they're exposed to, and we know how easily they can get distracted and go down the wrong path.
With that being said, how does one with their own nonprofit organization partner with you or the city, or what are some resources you would suggest or provide?
Yeah, there's multiple ways. So the city always has events. We have events, and one way you could do that is reach out directly to my office, give me an email. Let me know what your event is, details and background, any upcoming your organization, any upcoming events or initiatives that you may have. We may not immediately be able to assist, but knowing that you exist can make sure that whenever the conversations come up for an opportunity, oh, you know what, I got somebody in mind for that. And that's how we've usually made a lot of partnerships and get them connected. And sometimes we can't directly fund, but sometimes we hear somebody, hey, I got this money, I want to donate it to somebody. You know what? I just talked to so and so, Vanessa Lipscomb from the community garden. We couldn't give her a grant because her husband works through the city. So another nonprofit was like, hey, I'm trying to get some money to the community. Hey, you know what? Let's make the connection. Let's help her out. So by doing those, just being involved and staying connected, I think there's always opportunities to not just help your organization, but also help our office out.
Thank you.
And thank you for the questions. Are there any other questions that we want to submit before we get closing remarks?
So, Ole, thank you. Thank you, Festus. And Isaac, thank you for returning back to say thank you. And thank you for sharing those wonderful stories. I came late. I don't know whether you shared this, but for me, those stories that you share about, when your last arrest, in terms of you sitting down, and those are the moments that change your life. Those are the moments you won't forget. But I wonder if you can share the real moment that transitions you, or how does that? I mean, you realize that, hey, you're doing something wrong, mug short, or what have you. You remember that. But what are the moment that you remember that this job, this connecting with these resources, or connecting with this person actually change or transform my path?
I like the way you worded that, and I can tell you my first year in AAU was a critical moment, because I put in the work and I made these great relationships with these parents. And I didn't create a community center, I created a family center where families felt they had a space of their own. They had a space where they can speak up unafraid, and they knew that they were speaking to somebody that they trusted. And I think that's key when I built these relationships. And let me fast forward to the end of that first year. Because of the impact I had, my department gave me a Rookie of the Year award, and a lot of parents came out to support. And that summer, I was enjoying my vacation with my wife in Mexico, and I got a call from one of the moms that was in my classes. And this family came from Guatemala. It was a family of 4. They came up through Mexico. They were trafficked in. When they got in, the way they were trafficked, they had to stay in somebody's apartment, not in a bedroom, but they slept on the floor until they paid their debt off. Right? So they had to work their debt off so they can become independent. And they busted their butts working multiple jobs to get that debt paid, especially the money. And they still came to class to learn English and learn whatever resources. That's sacrifice.
So somebody was holding them like hostage here?
Something like that. Dang! So it costs thousands of dollars for them to make it over here.
Yeah.
And they don't have that.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll put them to work.
Wow.
So you may see people selling roses with a kid on the corner. A lot of times those are trafficking situations where they're being told to get out there and do that. Because it's hot. And I don't think that's their choice.
Yeah.
So she calls me one summer, and this is when I truly felt the impact of myself as an individual that the community trusted and relied on. She was calling me from the hospital, from the emergency room, crying because her husband had tried to kill her. He was jealous because she was working so much and thought that she was having an affair. He was having substance issues as well. And one night while she was sleeping, he had some kind of weapon and he started stabbing her. She got let loose, kept on going, strangling her, and her son was right there playing with frozen, watching her with their kids there. And the daughter had to bite the dad hard enough for him to let go of their mom. Unfortunately, he fled back to his home country, but knowing that the first person that she called was me, because she didn't know what else to do, who else to call. I have nobody here, but I know this individual has helped our community and us. He's genuine about his care. I need to call him to find out what. She didn't know the process because police were around her. Yeah. She was scared because she's undocumented. Her kids are undocumented. And I said, and from the information she gave me that the police were giving her, well, you're a victim of domestic violence now. And the information they're giving you is vital. So it's an act. It's a violence against domestic survivors. Gain citizenship because she was a victim. And now a pathway to a better life, right? A good thing because they were a beautiful family. Yeah. And I didn't stop there. So I had them come in that summer and meet with me and connected them with social workers for the students to give them counseling because they're definitely experiencing trauma. But I think that was really the moment that I realized that if I'm not doing the work that I'm doing the way that I'm doing it, then I'm not impacting the way that I need to be impacted.
I think that's good.
That's heavy.
Good questions. Thank you. Did anyone else? Were there any other questions? All right. So if you just let us know, as they continue on this process of making the West Side the best. What's going on? How can they get in contact with you?
So as you know, the council member is a strong advocate for her community. She is probably one of the most active council members. She's out in the streets.
She's outside.
The other day, she was mowing the lawn. She bought a new riding mower. She was mowing one of the lawns. She did it right along with solid waste with the trash truck. She wanted to ride in the back like rock, but they're not like that anymore. They come out and they pick up the trash. It's not like that kind of stuff. But she wanted to do that because she wants to know every aspect of every experience in the city. So with that being said, we have an event coming up recognizing the volunteers that helped us out during the storm. We had 2 large distributions, one at Crump Stadium, one at Walmart. We had over 100 volunteers, half of them being youth, come out, many of them being from 85 SD, to come out and really give back to the community and in need. So we're doing a reception to honor those volunteers. So if anybody here was volunteers, sign up and come get some free food. It's going to be at Crump Stadium because we want to make sure that they get recognized when you're out there doing that work. It's tough work. It's all day. People are out of power. You're in the heat already, but you're helping individuals out. So that's coming up October 12th. We have the inaugural Faith and Affordable Housing Summit. And what that is the initiative to connect our faith leaders, our churches, our mosques, or any individual that has land with resources and the opportunity to connect with the city and do business with the city so they can see their land get developed. So we understand a lot of churches can sit on a lot of land, but maybe right now, especially after COVID, there's not so much attendance with donations and they need to free up a little bit of money. So if they're willing, we're going to have a series of panel discussions with developers, with financial institutions, lenders, brokers, and the city to let them know how do you partner with the city to get these projects done? How do you get multi-family development, which is apartment complex, built on your land, or single-family development, which is home built on your land, that can not only benefit you but also the community in the area of your church, which would also translate to bringing you more church members. So that we're having that initiative on October 12th, and then piggyback off of that, There's going to be a developers tour in November, developers of color. Give them a tour of the city of areas where we can see some more development. And one thing I wanna talk about is affordable housing. Many times people in the community can hear affordable housing and they hear people. They hear those people, right? And in fact, I've been to many new affordable housing tours, and these places are market rate locations. These look like brand new, high quality made apartments. It's not like the projects from back in the day. This is 1, 2, 3 bedroom homes, high ceiled homes that I would love to live in, but I make too much. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it's working on those kinds of initiatives and policies to make sure that people understand that affordable housing is a different look and it's a different mentality. So we're pushing behind a lot of that within our office. Every month we have a affordable housing committee. So mainly we surround ourselves with affordable housing opportunities, but also working with the youth, 80 votes, and the public safety.
Email, best way to contact?
Yeah, best way to contact is, you can contact me direct. I have no problem giving that out. It's isaac.at.houstonTX.gov. So that's isaac.at@houstontx.gov, and I'll give you my city cell 281-409-2109. Call me direct, send me a message, send me a text. I'm
Can you
open.
repeat your number?
I'm sorry?
281-409?
281-409-2109. And I don't turn calls away. So you never know when that person needs to have that conversation. So, reach out to me with any kind of question. Even if you just want to chit chat or just talk about something else, I'm here to help out.
Well, definitely. We can't thank you enough for coming. We appreciate you.
No, I appreciate y'all.
And thank you all for coming. As again, we want to empower the community with powerful stories. I'm like, I got about 5 mugshots. So I said, oh, you are different, brother. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's just wonderful to hear how life gets turned around and starts to impact so many others. And there's a scripture that says, "He who's forgiven much, love much." And so when you are able to realize, man, the path that you're on, and now you're able to pivot and you're able to make that impact. And again, when you've seen some of the dark pits that are out there, it's different. You know what I'm saying? It's a different motivation. It's a different level of passion because you know both ends.
You say motivation and passion is different, and the dark ends. And I'm gonna tell you, when I made that decision to turn it around and focus on community, a lot of it was because I did a Google search on my name, and what would come up would be my brother's trial and how I was connected. And I felt that was a reflection of who I'm not and who I'm not going to be. So that was a direct motivation to if a top Google search comes up, Isaac involved in this capital murder trial, doing these things, what does that say about you, Isaac? And I think if you do it now, it's totally different. It's family engagement, community engagement, all these meetings, and to me that's like a testament to myself. Like, I did that for nobody else but to myself, so I can change what that would look like, because I was tired of seeing that. So I hope that helps out everybody and pushes people to motivate themselves to take those steps they need to change their life.
100%. So listen, like we love to say, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college, but there's no excuse for not getting an education. If you like what you heard today, go ahead and hit that like button, the follow button, actually hit the follow button. If you know somebody who needs to hear this story, go ahead and share this with them, and then we will see you on the next episode.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.